Can I ask a little question?
Cooper's thinking about, I want to get into the property market.
Great players.
It would have been Rod Stewart.
You've got to turn over some of this roster.
My chafe got so bad.
Yeah, welcome to Backstage with Cooper and Matty Johns. Coop, what have we got today, pal?
Well, today we've got a very special guest, Matthew. Mitchell Pearce from the Sydney Roosters, Newcastle Knights, and Origin legend. We're going to sit down. We're going to preview Game 2 of State of Origin, playing down in Melbourne. Pretty big game. But we're also going to delve into his Origin career, and we're going to ask him some of the lessons he learned, his experiences when he debuted at 18 on the State of Origin arena, and then how he was probably unfairly scapegoated for a lot of the losses.
Well, Coop, with Mitchell, one of the first things I'm going to ask you, one of the first questions I asked him about when he was picked for State of Origin, honestly, listen to the circumstances of when he was picked, and you talk about player welfare. I mean, looking back on it, it's hard to believe at that point in his career he was selected for such a big game.
Yeah, you've known Mitchell for a while. You used to help him out with footy when he was just a young player. How long you known him?
Yeah, since he was 17. I loved his dad as a player. Big Balmain Tigers fan, and I remember a couple of times coached, not at an upper level by his dad, but I used to go to these coaching camps and his dad would coach me, and it was funny how sort of life follows on. Then you find yourself coaching. Yeah, Wayne's son, Mitchell. I've always really loved Mitch. He's a terrific fella.
He is.
Okay, let's tell the story. In my old car, the Cooper people never sat in the front seat of my car when he was a kid, and there was a reason. Well, he did once upon a time, but then an incident happened, and he never hopped in the front seat again. Do you remember what it was, Coop?
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
So what had happened? I get a call from Mitchell one night, about 10 o'clock, and he said, "Hey, Matty, what are you doing? I'm down at the pub, the Collaroy, not far from your joint. Do you want to come down and have a beer?" And I said, No, I've got the two boys here, looking after the boys. Mate, I'll tell you what are you doing? He had a few under his belt. And I said, "Listen, mate, do us a favour. Don't hop in a taxi and go home. You don't know, you might fall asleep in a taxi, or whatever. Come home, we'll put you in the spare bed, I'll get up in the morning, and I'll drive you home." And he's like, "Yeah, mate, good plan." So anyway, he comes home, comes to our place, and knock on the door about 2 a.m., help him in. He's pretty well leathered. Goes to bed, wakes up first thing in the morning, and I've got to go do the Sunday footy show. And Coop, you're a young tacker, so I go, "Hey, mate, do you want to come into the footy show and drop Mitchell Pearce home?" And you're like, "Oh, yeah."
Yeah, well, he was an out-and-out first grader. He was very famous.
Yeah, well, he played Origin by that point.
Yeah.
So anyway, people, we hop in the car and we're starting to drive, and we're going through past Beacon Hill, and there's a McDonald's there, and I'm looking at Mitch, and he's looking a little green around the gills. I said, "Listen, mate, how about I'll get you hash brown and bacon egg muffin to make you feel better."
I think it was a sausage and egg McMuffin.
Sausage and egg McMuffin.
That damn sausage.
And I got him a Truckie's toothbrush as well, the old Diet Coke. So anyway, he knocks it down. He's going pretty good. He's a little bit chirpy. And then as we're about to go down into the Eastern Distributor Tunnel, it goes very quiet. And we are literally in the middle of the tunnel, can't stop anywhere. And he goes, "Hey, Matty, can you pull over? I'm going to spew." I said, "Mitch, we're in the tunnel. We can't do it." He's got, "Oh, mate, I'm not feeling real good." And literally, Coop, as we're about to come out of the tunnel, he starts vomiting. Mate, it wasn't just vomit. It was...
the smell.
It was coming out, like, honestly, like spurting out, like it was just like a waterfall exploding out of a mountain.
It was like, I don't know if anyone's ever seen the movie Team America, but it was like he vomited so projectile that it was actually bouncing off the bonnet of the car and coming back into me in the back seat, hitting Dad in the chest while he's driving. There was spew everywhere. And Dad had seat warmers. And the little seat warmers had there were holes all through the seat for the seat to kind of aerate and warm your seats up. So all the spew particles had gotten in between Dad's seat warmers.
Mate, in the speakers, the stereos.
Yeah.
It was, people, it was not exaggerating. It was everywhere. So we drop him off. We go and do the Sunday footy show. And then I go, okay. So we drive to one of those car cleaning places, and I thought, I'm not going to do this. So I give it to the guy, and he goes, "Yep, mate, anything you really need done?" I said, "Oh, yeah, my young fella, he spilt breakfast cereal all over the front seat and everywhere." And he goes, "Oh, yeah, mate, no problem, no worries." I watch him go in there. He turns to me and goes, are you taking the piss? Throws me the key and goes, no way. So I had to go back and try to clean it. And like till the day we sold the car, it still had the spew in the speakers and the little pebbles in the seat warming.
Yeah, it was. I remember at one point you just go, let's just fucking torch it.
Okay, Mitchell's just about here.
Beautiful.
Well, Coops here with Mitch Pearce.
The great
Mitch Pearce. Now, Pearce, hey, by the way, mate, welcome. Firstly, can I just congratulate you and Toddy Cardi on your podcast, mate?
Thanks, matey.
It's fantastic, mate. Really, really good.
Yeah, we're enjoying it. Sort of just obviously retired last year. Toddy's been doing a bit of stuff up there in Queensland, and then had an opportunity with Triple M, which we're grateful for. And yeah, we're getting some good feedback with it. It's just enjoyable linking back up with Toddy, talking a bit of footy. We're both sort of made some good changes in life, and yeah, just try and talk natural about footy, and it's been good.
Oh, mate, it's Mitch is really, really good. Yeah. The way he's articulated, it's fantastic. And you've moved into coaching as well, doing a lot of coaching with the Roosters juniors, the young guys coming through. It's amazing, isn't it? I bet you when you start coaching, when you started to coach, you actually learn almost more about the game. You start to join dots, things like. Have you found that?
Yeah, I have. It's funny you say that because I wish I knew how I saw things now 10 years ago. It's
Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way.
I watch games now and go, I would have been heaps better if I could have done this and that back then. But obviously, it's your duty. Obviously, I did a lot of stuff with you down here when I was younger, and I learned a lot off mentors and older halves when I was coming through, and that was the sort of stuff that kick-started my career. And a lot of the stuff I'm trying to teach now is sort of the stuff that I learned off yourself and your brother and lots of other mentors. So,
what age group is it?
The guys I'm working with.
The kids, yeah. How old are they?
No, so it's an academy. So Mitch Orbison started the academy. So Tim and Friendy doing stuff. So basically, there's a real good couple of halves coming through. Toby Rodwell, Brett Rodwell's.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I heard about. Yeah.
He's one of the better halves coming through. They're looking at him to play first grade in the next couple of years. Jake Elliott, he's playing New South Wales 19s tonight. So it's a good crew to work with.
So they're like that 16 to 18-year-old range?
Yeah, most of them are about sort of 17, 18. 19.
Do they? I wanted to ask you because you're obviously sober now, but back in the day, renowned party boy.
Yes.
Do they come to you with stories and they ask you questions about sort of your party days?
No, they're all very well behaved at the moment. I only go in a couple of days a week, so I'm sure we'll break the ice soon.
Yeah, I reckon.
but maybe that's not a good thing. I don't know.
No.
Maybe I'll just keep the ice not broken.
No. Mitch, I think totally the opposite. Is you want someone there who's had the full gamut of experiences, and even there's young guys there who might be doing it difficult, and they're only young guys. Some guys 19, 20 years of age all of a sudden start to have problems with alcohol. You can see that sort of stuff coming. Certainly someone who hasn't had those experiences can't mentor those blokes. So I think it's a string to your bow. Like the fact that you've sort of walked the hard road at times, I think it'll make you a better coach, mate.
Yeah, well, I'm enjoying the mentoring side of things. I'm working on a bit of a program with Toddy as well, and an old counsellor. There's a friend of mine. She's an older lady, but she wants to do some stuff with juveniles and schools around resilience, anxieties, all that sort of stuff. Obviously, I've done a lot of different work, and you make changes, and then with maturity, you learn different stuff about yourself. So I suppose, it's your duty to pass that on, and it's rewarding as well.
So, Mitch, we're going to preview State of Origin too. But to start with, let's do some bit of insights in State of Origin, like our experiences, your experiences. I want to talk your debut match. This is, to go back and have a look at this, Mitch, it's when you talk about player welfare. Right? No, and I mean this. I mean, you think about this. Right, and we've got Jack in the room here. He's a great mate of yours and Coopsy.
Yes, Jack.
Think about this. Debuted Pearcey in 2008. It's a decider in front of 80,000 people at Sydney. Mitch, you've just come into first grade, basically. You're 18. It's a decider. The team were just beaten 30-0 in game 2. Seriously, what were they thinking?
Yeah, I agree with you.
Was it your first year in first grade?
It was my second year first grade. It's funny, I was watching some old Origins yesterday, and it sounds really weird, but I've got a bit of idle time at the moment, and I feel when you retire and got to come into terms and appreciating your career, it's good to watch back on some games and kind of let go or see different perspectives. Because I'm coaching now, sometimes I'll go back and watch some different stuff. to pick up where I was at the same age as the kids that I'm going to be working with. So that's sort of why I did it. But I watched back the 2011 series yesterday. For some reason, I was just going through on YouTube, and I enjoy watching old games and where I was, or try and put myself in that headspace I was in when I was playing. And I actually watched the 2008 one only a few weeks ago. Yeah, look, at that age, going into that environment, you know, obviously their halves were Lockyer, Thurston, Cronk was off the bench, or maybe Coops wasn't even in there then. Billy, but the ultimate game managers and legends at owning moments. And I was just this raw kid. I was just this raw kid that I played with a lot of instincts, and there was parts of that game when I watched back, I actually played really well.
Yep.
But obviously I didn't have that polish in the big moments and stuff at that age. But going in those series at that age, under that much pressure, it probably had a side effect. Not the early couple of series, not really, but I think after a few years, the repeat performances and then dealing with the roller coaster of it all, it's a thing you got to manage for sure. And I look back, it was a roller coaster.
We'll get onto that, you know, like we'll move on to that, some of that stuff that, you know, happened through those middle years before we get to your very last State of Origin. But I remember going to the State of Origin 95, Mitch, and I was a lot more experienced than you, but you walk into the sheds, and I'm not going to say there was a sense of dread, but it was really intimidating. Now, you're 18. Yeah, you're going in against a great side. You go into camp, huge pressure, decider. The coach is Craig Bellamy. You must have felt intimidated.
Yeah, I was. But at the same time, I was really confident because I played with some big players at club level. So I had Fitzy in the team at club level, Braith, who was my 5'8" in that Origin. I was playing with Mace, Ogre. So I had big personalities in my club team.
Were they all in the Origin side as well?
Mace was in there, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Mace was in there, Braith was in there, Fitzy was in there. So they were. So all my senior players at the Roosters that I'd sort of become good friends with in a short time and looked after me, I had them in the side. Mm-hmm. So it kind of eased the pressure a little bit because they had my back. So that made a bit of a difference. But yeah, it was Bedsy's last game in Origin. So going into that, and what a legend Bedsy was, like, yeah, I was just straight out of school and still coming to terms with everything. So I look back at it and I felt like the ball boy.
Well, that's it, Mitch. Like, and let's think about this.
You feel like the ball boy around all your heroes.
And it's so easy. You know, it's. I've tried to describe it to people who go into State of Origin. It is so easy in State of Origin, your first camp, to get lost in the preparation because you've got the bonding nights. You're around people who you at the very least, respect immensely. You've watched other people; they're almost hero status. It is really hard to get lost in your preparation. How was that camp for you? Did you like? Let's talk about the bonding night.
Yeah,
where you're trying to impress everyone. How was that?
Yeah, I was obviously a bit shy, a bit quiet, but I also knew my job there was to get in and bark from the start. So I was always conscious of that, even as a young half. And I speak to the halves now when I'm doing some work with them. Like, it's about expressing yourself, and even if you're not feeling confident, you got to show confidence because it's your job. And if you're not talking and getting in there and running the sets, you're not doing your job. So I was always conscious of that. Even if I felt anxiety inside, I'd always go out there and I was proud. I wanted to get respect off the lads by giving them direction and being the voice. So that was never really a massive problem. But I think it was I remember the camp. I remember my first couple of training sessions. You don't want to make a mistake. But I had real good support. Like the guys there, like Braith was there. So the build-up was really good. And to be honest, when I look back, there was less pressure in those games than there was when I played a few years later.
Of course.
Because there wasn't as much to lose. Like, I had all my mates there. It was like I was full of energy. So I look back, the pressure was different at that age as opposed to what it probably was after repeat losses.
It was a good performance. I watched back, and you're right. It was a good performance. There's little things which experience bring later on in your career. It was a good performance. Side really fought hard against that iconic side. You lose 16-10. So it was a good debut. What was said about you after the game, Mitch? Do you remember?
I don't think I copped too much backlash after the first game. There's probably a bit of criticism because we didn't get the job done. I remember I struggled for a few weeks going back to club footy, and I remember Freddie had a really big chat with me and sprayed me. I got on the drinker pretty hard after it. We had the bye, and I remember Freddie pulled me in and said, you've done nothing yet. We need you for the back end of the year. It was a good father-son sort of chat. Yeah. And he put me in my place with it, and then we ended up finishing the year pretty well. But I remember coming out of that Origin series a bit flat. We're having a really good year. We made second week of the finals. We got beat by the Broncos. So we had a good season with the roster we had, and it was a big year. But I remember having a bit of a flat few weeks. It's probably what I look at Nico at the moment and what he's going through.
Yeah.
He's probably got, you go into those camps, it's like a deer in headlights. He's trying to adapt, and then he's dealing with all this criticism that he probably hasn't been used to.
We talk about ebbs and flows of rugby league. You play, you reach a peak, and then of your club form, you get picked for state of origin, and you either continue to go up, or you get scapegoated for a loss, or you have a bad game, and then the decline starts.
Sometimes, Coop, and Mitchell back this up. There's a residual effect, so you get there, and if you've played okay, even look, put it this way: the next game you play after state of origin, you feel that comfortable because the pace is so much slower. But as Mitch said, then the next week and the next week, and it catches up on you physically.
Yeah, I think it's just dealing with when you win the series, we didn't win many, but when you win a game of origin, you come back, as Matty just said, you come back to club footy. The pace is a lot slower. I used to love playing 2 days after an origin because I always had, you'd be close to man of the match because you were 2 steps ahead of everyone. You didn't have to prepare much. You had Maccas the night before because your energy's, you're in that. You've had that 10 days of just elite energy. So you're going...
The adrenaline.
And adrenaline and the speed and everything's sort of second nature. So I used to love playing a couple of days after.
It's funny you say that because I remember Harry Grant said the same thing. 2 days, it's almost like your body hasn't realised how sore you are and fatigued you are, and you get it done. But he had to play one 3 or 4 days after once, and he said he was... fatigued. He just felt like that extra day or two for your body, the adrenaline to leave your body, and you realise I'm so fatigued after that game.
We played a few days, a couple of weeks later, you start to go into a hole. You get real fatigued. But
we played a test match once in '95 against the Kiwis in Brisbane on the Friday. And then literally after the game, we almost didn't have to shower. We had to get to the airport straight away and get a plane straight back down to Sydney. And we played North Sydney the next day.
That was the funny.
You do play well for you. Yeah. But we played well and we won because you're still buzzing. You still get the adrenaline pouring through you.
Hey, can I go back? Sorry, just because I was pretty young when you got selected at 18. How left field was the decision? In terms of, were there a lot of other halves who could have been picked, or was it a bit of a left field decision to go with you?
No, so I think it was a sort of start. New South Wales went for about 40 halves in 15 years, didn't we? But it was the start. I think Noddy was the half, for memory, maybe him or Craig Gower for the first game.
Yeah.
So I came in the decider.
Yeah.
But I'd played really well that year, and as they do, they get behind sort of the new talent. The media were sort of pumping me up. I did have a big year. I played a really big game. I was playing in Newcastle, and I got bashed around a bit. They sort of targeted me, and I think I got man of the match up there, and that was just before the selection. So it was leading into the game. But I remember that game. It was probably one of the sort of, for where I was at my age, I was really skinny and only young, but I remember playing, it was probably one of the most physical, tough games I played. I got bashed a lot, and I kept coming back and coming up with some big moments, and then I got picked the next day. I think Noddy or Gowie, whoever was in there, either got injured or maybe from the game before it was a bad result. I can't remember, but that was sort of how it came about.
Queensland have been very lucky. They've had natural succession all the way through. If you go Alfie, and there's not too... I'm just trying to think of who was in between Alf. But, I mean, let's talk about... So
Adrian Lamb.
Yeah, you got Lammy filling in there. But then all of a sudden you come into the Thurston era. And you got Lockyer. Then you go Cronk. And then you got DCE. And they've just rolled through like that. Where at that point, Coop, New South Wales were desperate. It was post-Joey.
Yeah.
And whoever half sort of popped up and started to go good, it was like, get him in. Yeah. Jared Mullen got picked first game 2007. Yeah. Very similar circumstances and was never picked again. Hugely unfair.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, Mitch, when we talk about the middle party origin career, in rugby league halves, they say own the result. When you win, you get too much praise. When you lose, you get too much criticism. And that was the case with you. So many times you get beat, and I'd see games, and you play well, but because you were in the 7, you take the blame. How big a toll did that take on you, but also the family? Mitch?
Yeah, well, it created self-doubt. And I look back, and I just spoke before about watching a few older games now and just reflecting and getting in a different headspace from an older head. Yeah, I reckon some of those games I was happy with some of my performances, and it wasn't always just down to me. But I've always been someone which has probably benefited me in some ways as well through my career. I always took responsibility. Genuinely, I didn't just say it. I always prided myself that I was wearing the 7 and it's on me. And it was my job to own those moments and get the energy of the group up. And when I failed in those moments, it took a heavy toll on me. The criticism from the external, at the start, I used to, probably when I was a kid coming through, like 16, 17, obviously with dad playing and all that sort of stuff, I probably had some insecurity around that. And I was always very much, I want to deliver and I'd listened a bit more to what people said. As I got a bit older, the losses from what the media said didn't really affect me. It was more the fact that I didn't win it from my own goals and for the state and then from what I was out to achieve. I wanted to go in there and dominate. Yeah. And if I didn't, it was more that I let myself down. And that was probably the thing that the mental barrier that you were getting over each week, more so than the things that they would have said would have been. I didn't even read it, to be honest. I didn't care. After 2 years, I didn't give a shit.
You can't actually read. You can't actually read.
I was illiterate at 19.
Hey, but
as soon as I played first grade, I couldn't read.
But Mitch, your career is it's pretty amazing because we said before about you coaching young blokes and the things you've gone through. Another area you can help them with is your playing career straddled social media. Most of your career. There wasn't heavy social media, and then all of a sudden, halfway through your career, social media comes in, which adds another 5 or 6 layers of criticism or whatever it is. Were there times, Mitch, where, like, seriously, being honestly, that you were thinking when they were talking to Righto who were going to pick Ed, that you were thinking, please don't pick me? Was there ever a point that where you're thinking, oh, no?
Just because I was a competitor and I don't like dogging anything.
Yeah.
I'd never let myself go there.
Yep.
Just because I couldn't live with myself if I pulled out knowing that I should have played. Like, that doesn't sit. I couldn't do that. That's just who I am as a competitor. But there's no doubt there was the anxiety sometimes after those losses, especially when at the Roosters through those years, majority of the time we were playing really good. Like, I was in some really good teams and form, and most of my club footy was pretty consistent most of the time. So I was always, things were really happy and glowy at club level. So there's always that little bit of anxiety when you know what was ahead. You know that the good things that would come out of a win, but then there was that anxiety there. And I did feel that heat for a long time. It's probably now that I reflect more on it, how much that affected my moods and everything. Like, I was never that happy through footy and Origin series. It should have been the best time of your life. And there was part of it I loved. But I don't reckon that, like, it was always that happy.
Yeah, you can't enjoy it.
Hey, Mitch, I've been in camps. I've been in representative camps with Aussie sides and that, where guys have pulled out. And I can almost guarantee you they weren't injured. They've gone into camp, they've sort of dipped a toe in the water, they just haven't liked the vibe of it, and they've pulled out.
Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah.
I could never do that.
No, you haven't got that in you. You haven't. Mate, let's go to, we've hit the dark stuff. Okay, let's go to the highlight. You get an Origin callback. Was it 2019? You get the callback. Obviously, there was so much criticism on you early from that middle part, your debut in State of Origin. What was the emotion like when you first got the call and you found out that you're going to be making the return to the Origin arena? Because it was essentially the same as your debut, where you come back in for a decider, except rather than being 2 years into your career, you're a decade in, you're an experienced half. What was that like?
So, to be honest, I'd sort of closed the door on Origin. At that time, I actually pushed it aside a bit. I was sort of hesitant to go back in. I was playing really good footy at Newcastle. It was probably the best I've played in the circumstances of the team. I had about 6 man of the matches in a row. I was in that sweet spot.
Yep.
And sort of the first game came around. I was carrying a bit of an injury. I was really focused on Newcastle. That fell through, that opportunity. But kind of, in a weird way, it felt like it was meant to be. Like, it kept coming back. And it just said I felt this empowerment sort of inside me by coming to that last game. And I just thought, so when I got the call to go into the last game, Nathan, I think, went into camp for the first 2 days and then got injured. And then Freddie called me and, I couldn't wait to get in there. I just thought, this is it. It's game on. I had fear. I was nervous, but I had this inner belief. The way I was playing, I just knew that I wasn't going to let this slip. And it's funny, that game... the game itself was a roller coaster, a bit like Origin was through the whole career. I remember we came in. Freddie had a really good half-time speech. I remember it was so simple but direct. We were playing at about 70% in the first half. We knew, when you're in a game and it's yours, but it's yours to lose as well.
Yeah.
And we had a couple of errors, and we were just giving Queensland a sniff when we were so much better a team at that point. Freddie came in at half time. He said, if you keep playing how we're playing, we'll all be depressed after the game. If you pull your heads in, we'll all be happy. Like, it sounds so simple, but it's all we needed to hear.
Yep.
Everyone jumped up and we went out, and obviously the game went down to the wire, but I think we went up about 14, 16 points, and then they came back a bit scary at the end, and then obviously that try. But
You were integral in that last try.
Yeah.
I mean, when Teddy went across and scored, and you're heavily involved in that try, it's almost like the gods of, I say to the boys all the time, not just in rugby league, but in life, eventually you get what you deserve, whether it's good or bad.
Yep.
I can only imagine the relief that came over you when Teddy scored that last try, and you're involved in it.
Yeah, it was like the 13 grand final. It was a similar feeling. Obviously, yeah, all that emotion and all that pain and everything comes out. I remember having a really good cuddle with Dad after the game, and when you father to son, it's a different relationship to your mother, and when I saw my dad, Dad's never said to me, mate, he's never pressured me, but I remember cuddling Dad after that game, and it was just eye contact, and it was like he was just so proud, and obviously that, for me, that's one of my best moments of my career.
Yeah.
Believe me, he'd have been more relieved than you.
Yeah.
Yeah, as a parent.
Yeah. That's, I mean, Mitch, you'll get there one day if you think you're nervous when you're going to there to play a game. When your two sons are playing, it's a nightmare.
And it's a nightmare. And not just playing shit as well.
That's probably the worst one as a parent, isn't it? All the dickheads in the fans spraying your son, and
well, when they play,
what do you do?
I'll never forget.
We've had plenty of them. Don't worry about
that. The day they played against each other at Mudgee, and I'm sitting there just watching the game, going, because usually, when you're doing the halves, particularly with the boys who are sort of ball playing positions, when it's time to defend, you're sort of, you're watching, you go, oh, it's a bit of a break now. But, I mean, when they're playing against each other, it was like, honestly, it was 80 minutes of just like, I said to Trish at one point, can we get this fucking game over and done with? And, of course, it went to Golden Point.
Yeah. Oh, no way.
And ended up a 32-all draw.
Yeah.
Righto.
We're happy with that.
Let's preview Origin 2. And, Mitch, let's not do this like an interview. We're all in. We're all just chat away. Fellas, what do you think of the game? What do we think of the team compared to game one? What's our feeling?
Yeah, I think Mitch Moses coming in is a no-brainer. I think I feel for Nico, but I also understand. We spoke about going into Origin camps. I think to play well in Origin in your first few games, you need to have the right structure around you, and you need to have a game that suits you. And it's always going to probably be hard for Nico in his first couple of games. First, keeping up with the intensity, keeping up with the speed, and then also having different players around him that he's not used to.
Yeah.
So I think that could have maybe affected his form a little bit.
Suoliti went off straight away. You're playing with 12 men.
I actually think
it was a disaster food situation that he was in.
I would love to see Nico get another crack, but in the 6.
Yeah.
I would love to see him play. I think at that level, I think he's the second banana. I think he's a guy that feeds off the primary ball player.
Well, I think you see Nico's best position is playing when he's running the footy is his best stuff, and to be a running halfback, I think in the game one he had something like 16 carries, and you wouldn't think back and think, geez, Nico had 16 carries, but he's that kind of player that he just likes getting on the advantage line and running. With a Nathan Cleary, he would play so well. I
think with the game situation, like to have 12 men, you've obviously gone in with a game plan. He's the sort of player that needs systems around him, doesn't he? As
he does.
Said. Yeah. If he's playing 6, he can play off someone else who's the strategic sort of leader. I think with Mitch being out there, he would have had the ability to maybe adapt. I thought in the second half, especially, or back end of the first half, we kept trying to play block plays running around him.
Yes.
We had 12 men. You're not going to get around a team in the best of times in Origin with 13 on 13, but we just kept playing the same plays. Whenever we went through Queensland, I think Nico's best play came back and tried to hit Spencer on the inside. He held up. Those type of plays were when we looked most effective. But I think Nico being more of a feel-good player, he probably didn't have the smarts enough in that arena to adapt, where maybe Mitch will.
Mitchell, I think, like, if I was coaching at that Origin level, I think one thing you've got to be acutely aware of is that you have got fellas in there who have never played together, and that you haven't laid down your principles over a long period of time, like at club level. Like at club level, if I've coached you for a long time, you've played in the same system, I can undercoach you that week. And I can go into you, Mitch, and say, hey, listen, Mitch, let's work a bit here. And you leave a bit up to the imagination because you know it inside out. You know the map. Yep. But at Origin level, in my opinion, coaching a guy like Nico is you want to say, right, Nico, we're looking at these plays, and if that breaks down, we're going to look to go here. Now, if the ball goes... And that just keeps you focused all the time. There is nothing worse than going to a game with new combinations, and the coach goes, right, boys, we're going to look for a bit of this, but you blokes know how to play, just go out there and do it. And everyone goes, right. And that puts so much more pressure on the halfback, doesn't it?
Yep.
Like, you want everything. Like, that's the strength of Slater, is what I can understand talking to Nate Miles. He said Slater doesn't so much coach the team. He said 80% of his coaching is the individual. Coach saying, right, this is your job. This is what I need you to do, which I think at rep level is the most important part of coaching.
Yeah. Well, it's so hard to get, in terms of coming up with a whole team's combination, you have a week of training.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have the time to get around to everyone and make sure everybody knows exactly what everyone's going to do when they do this, like you do in an NRL season when you have 2 months to prepare.
Right,
right boys.
You need the systems in place for sure, as Matty was saying. If you don't, I've played in games before, especially in my early years, where you're playing with a new halves combination and they're playing a different style to what you're used to. And when the pressure comes on, you haven't had any ball, your forwards aren't getting in the position. It's very hard to get your game on.
Yeah, it does. Mitch, Coops, okay, the pool which you had to pick from for game 2 was Nico, Mitchell Moses, Cody Walker, talking about Harvesy, Matt Burton, Jerome Luai, Luke Keary. Moses and Luai, did they get it right?
I like Luai. I reckon he was, he loves that run back coming back through the ruck. He scored, obviously set that little grubber kick up for Teddy, I think it was, in the first game. He does it too often to be a coincidence. I like that style of footy. But I think having him and Nico there playing both space players and field-good players didn't work.
No, it sort of skimmed across the defence, didn't
What
it?
I love the way Mitch has got to in his game now, I think he can play those short moments and that long game as well.
Yep.
And we need that. Obviously, Cherry's grown into that role and he's the best in the game at that now. And we need someone to counteract that.
Yeah, I would have liked. I think Luai, Nico, or Cody Walker both could have played that role for with Moses. They all three of those guys could have played 5'8". Yeah. I think Luai probably deserves his spot. He played well in that game one.
He was good against Newcastle too, which is crucial. I reckon Madge would have been betwixt and between a little bit between he and Cody. Reports were he sent the medical staff to Cody's house before game 1 selections, and they ruled that the calf was too big a risk. So I'd started to get a sneaking suspicion that Madge was going to pick Cody, particularly if you're going to pick Latrell, they could form combination on the left. But he's gone with Jerome, and
him and Latrell would have been good though, wouldn't they?
Yeah, it would have been interesting. Mitch, I'll ask you this one, Isaiah. I've always been, in my opinion, I think Isaiah is probably the most intelligent player in the competition. But evidence, Mitch, that we just didn't bed down how we wanted to play tactically correct or form the proper combinations, was I've never seen Isaiah play a little bit too sideways. He was sort of crabbing a little bit, and in my opinion, a lot of it was the runners not being there for him. Because at Penrith, everything is just so coordinated and synchronised. He just goes up, everyone's in the right slots. Whereas watching him against New South Wales, guys were either a step or two too deep or too wide, and he found himself just crabbing across a little bit. Question I'll ask you. If you're Mitch Moses or Mitch Pearce, you're the halfback in that side, do you want Isaiah starting and you sort of sharing the creatives with him, or do you want him coming off the bench and you find him rhythm yourself early?
I want him starting. I said that before the game because, as you said, he can control the team and manipulate the defence, get all the runners around him from the first day in camp. I think coming off the bench, Spencer was our best player off the bench, and it was because of his leg speed. And when you got guys coming off the bench, for me, Cam Murray coming off the bench for me with his leg speed is more effective than a Yowie coming off the bench. And it also, like you said, it affects our structures. We build all the platforms early in the game. Yowie can manipulate defence, play for plays, all this sort of stuff. That coming off the bench, he just turns into a worker. So I don't really understand. He's the best lock in the game.
Yeah.
And I don't understand the decision.
You think on Wednesday it could be a bit of a throw off, and he starts Yo and brings Murray off the bench?
I hope so.
Could be. My concern, I just think Yowie and Jake Travojevic, I think their roles are too similar. I think what it could result in is a little bit too much sideways ball movement. But I do know what you mean. It's good to have a bloke out there who can share the creative duties, and you can just say, Mitch, okay, take us to the far post, and he'll do that for you.
It'd probably be hard for him too because it's not his normal role.
No.
And as we just spoke about, you go into Origin with the intensity, you might not have the ball for 20 minutes. He's trying to find his way to get into the game, and then all of a sudden the game's over. So I think from Yowie, who's if he's your best player and one of the best players and leaders in the game, I don't understand why we wouldn't start him. Let him play his natural game. And I think Cam Murray would be happy to come off the bench. He's done that plenty of times in Origin.
Yeah, and he can play back row. He's not just a lock.
No, I don't
Cam,
like,
you could.
I don't like him back row.
You don't?
No.
Oh,
No.
How good was Martin?
Martin's fantastic.
He was unbelievable.
I just don't. I don't like Cam Murray at an edge. It doesn't give him the athletic mismatches. He's very good through the middle because he's up against bigger, tired forwards. Yeah. When you get him on the edge, the other thing, he's a bloke you give the ball too early and he creates his own stuff with his footwork. I don't want him at the mercy of a ball player.
Yeah.
And I don't want him up against an edge back row who can match him physically.
Yeah.
That's why I like him through the middle. Okay, but I pick Edwards. Right, I picked in game one. It was ruled that Teddy comes in. Teddy was good, game one, but I support Edwards coming back into the side. What about you blokes?
Yeah, I think Edwards as well. I think he's deserved his spot. Did you play with Teddy?
I played with Teddy, not at the Roosters in Origin though.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. What would you have done?
I said Teddy just because of the leadership. I thought with Nico and the younger halves, I thought Teddy. I didn't have a leader there in big moments, but obviously with the 12 men, it was hard to. I thought Teddy played well, but he was busy like he does under pressure when the game's not really going well. Teddy just gets a lot of touches and tries to lead that way, doesn't he? So it was hard for him to sort of.
Would you have stuck with Teddy to game two?
I think it's a good change. I think, Edwards he's won 3 comps and his influence there, and I think Origin with the way how busy he is, especially those play 4 carries and everything like that. I think he could be close to our best player.
Right, let's talk about Latrell, one of the biggest talking points going into the game, and. He and Crichton give me enormous confidence. But Latrell, first of all, Mitch, you played with Latrell, huh?
Yeah.
You played with Latrell. Jerome Luai, how should he use him? Is it just a matter of get the ball in his hands early?
I'd love to see Latrell coming back through on cross plays. I reckon watching the game live, there was so much opportunity for us to use our centres coming back through the ruck.
Right.
I reckon it was our best bet. Queensland's, especially that left edge, they jammed really well and they put a lot of pressure on us.
They get up really hard.
The old block plays weren't working for us. So obviously we had 12 men, but I reckon any time we came back through the ruck, and I love that play. I've always loved that play. Last few years I was playing, whenever you use your centres back through the ruck, if you don't score that play, it's always a quick play of the ball, and the next one something comes off the back of it. So and it's natural for Jerome to scheme back there. He likes that more so than using his vision out here.
You know what I particularly like a Mitch? Like when it takes a while to unfold, so you're coming from a long, far side. Yep. And I often, off long sides, I don't like block formations because it feeds the way the defence wants to play, which is squeeze and release. Right? If you can from a far sideline or far, inside that far scrum line, if you can just go wham, 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 really quick ball movement. Right, what you do, you have a look at what happens on the inside of the football. It makes the defence move so fastly they become disconnected. Some blokes dropping back into the line early, other blokes cheating, other blokes chasing too hard. And then if you turn a bloke like Latrell back on the inside, he's got a staggered line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. What's Latrell Mitchell? What's he like in the sheds before a game? Because you played a lot with him at the Roosters.
I only played with Latrell his first year, early couple of years. So that was in 16. When I came back, 16, 17, I played with him.
Yeah.
He was only young then, so he was obviously just coming through. But his instincts were unbelievable. Back then, he was always about feel, and he was playing fullback a bit with me in 16. I got in trouble at the start of that year, so I played the back end of the year. So I missed the start of it. But we came when I did come back, we played some really good footy, and we worked on heaps of little combinations. He was always scheming around. He's big on moments.
Yeah.
Back then he was, give me a little kick here or. He loved moments, and I think he still does throughout his whole career.
Well, he's the kind of player that people say, he doesn't. His knock's always been he doesn't get involved enough. He doesn't get through enough work. How, as a half, did you kind of get to him to get the best out of him? Like when you talk about the moments, how did you get those moments out of him?
Yeah, well, there's probably one knock on his game at fullback is his busyness. He's probably not in the game as much as your all-time great fullbacks. Let's talk about Billy Slater as the best ever. He's probably not in the moment as much as them. When he is, the last couple of weeks, his form's improved because he's in the vision all the time. I reckon that's a trigger for him. He's staying involved, and when he does that, the moments come off the back of that because he's got the vision, he's got the feel. I think Latrell, just watching him and knowing him a little bit, he loves the world against him, and he thrives on that. He sort of keeps talking about how he hates the media against him, but I think there's a part of Latrell that needs that to get him going.
The Jordan psyche.
Yeah. And that that sort of side. And there's something about him. I feel like he's got a point to prove. He's got that eye of the tiger at the moment, and I think it's perfect for us.
I love that matchup. We'll talk about the other matchup on the other side of the field, which is a prime time matchup, Hamiso and Stephen Crichton. But I love that matchup from us, Latrell and Val Holmes. Early in the game, one thing we're going to get a lot of quick play of the balls. Murray with his footwork will generate a quick play of the ball. Dylan Edwards with him just tic-tac-toeing through the middle will get us a quick play of the balls. Early in the game, if I'm Jerome, I'm saying to Latrell, as soon as we get a quick play of the ball, I'm going to get it. I'm going to feed you early. I'm going to let you have a red hot crack at Val. Yep. That's if he can brush past or go over the top of Val early, I think it'll be a tough night for Val.
Yeah, and tries off kicks too. That was the thing for me. Like Lomax in the air is as good as anyone.
Yep.
Crichton in the air. There was a few frustrating moments. We kicked to Lomax that first game. He scores. How many times this year for the Dragons in sometimes a depleted team? The amount of tries he comes up off individual plays, just catching kicks. I reckon the best thing in an Origin is just kick to your big wingers. If they're getting 10 opportunities in an Origin, I think there's 2 tries in it.
Yeah,
you're right, Mitch.
With what we've got.
Yeah, I think you're definitely right, Mitch. In State of Origin, I reckon from a halves perspective, to a certain extent, my advice to Nico would be, again, just do less.
Yeah.
Do less. Just focus more on the conclusion of the sets rather than trying to organise everyone into shape. Just let them go forward. Once we start to get forward, things will start to happen. But
you're right with those kick targets, though. Like even now, Latrell on the left, but on that right-hand side, you can have Crichton and Lomax together, and when Hamole Olakau'atu comes on that right edge, he's a massive kick target. Like the amount of tries that he scores for Manly off kicks as well.
Big
so you're
time.
right with just put it up there.
It's a 50-50 opportunity every time, isn't it? And it takes the pressure off, like Matty said. I remember you speaking to me when I was younger about that. That I think when you're a young half coming through, you're all about play this play, and you forget about your last tackle. Yeah. Mitch Moses is at a point now in his career where I think he values the last play better than that's the best play of the set, and that's a huge thing in Origin. With the pressure and the fatigue, you got to remember where you want to put the ball.
Yeah, there's only one bloke I've ever seen play the game, that comes to mind anyway, who regularly gets the ball and as he's going to the line has got no idea exactly what kick he's going to put in, yet invariably always finds the right kick, and that's Daly Tree Evans.
How good
Like I've said to Coop, I've seen him wander down 1 metre short sides and the last tackle's going, what's he doing? And he just the last second goes bink and he just finds the right kick. Yeah. Pretty incredible. Other side of the field, mate, what a matchup. Stephen Crichton up against Hamiso. Mate, the Hammer, no doubt at the moment, is the most lethal attacking player in the game. He's unbelievable, but Stephen Crichton is the best defensive centre that I've ever seen.
How good is he?
It's a great matchup.
Yeah, it's going to be off its head. And chatting to a few of the Queenslanders, that was the edge that they wanted to attack game one. They wanted to go at that side. Obviously, there was new combinations, but particularly Lomax on the wing, and I've sat in video sessions at Storm and at Manly when he's the kind of player that really puts his emphasis on attack, loves getting a lot of carries, loves his meters high. There's players like that at every club. They love stats. They enjoy stats. And I know that a lot of their stuff was around he's going to do a lot of work in attack and he's going to be trying to get his energy back in defence, so let's continually attack that side because he's going to be making bad decisions. I think the Crichton over there is going to be a huge win for him as in help, but I think they're still going to be attacking that side a lot.
Lomax has just got to be present the whole time. He's got to be talking to Crichton the whole time. He's just got to be connected to him the whole time, because you're exactly right. What they did last game, they noticed that Swaliti had a tendency to come outside in when under pressure, and that Lomax would drop and fade and sit back and try to buy time. And Billy, he knew that little corridor was going to open up for Hamiso, and that the send-off incident highlighted that, and then that whole time it took to get Crichton over from the left, they exposed it constantly there. So that's a really big one. But, mate, Crichton's got huge presence. The great thing about Crichton, why I love him, Mitch, as a defensive centre, is that he runs a system out there. You watch him and he's talking, he's getting them up off the line. But he's also got these amazing instincts to actually recognise the playmaker's intentions, and he'll break out of the system and just make a decision. Hence, mate, I don't know any bloke who's made so many big game-changing intercepts in massive games like World Cup semi-finals, grand finals. He's a ball, mate. If you're a ball player, defensively, he's your biggest nightmare.
Yeah, and we've got Latrell there. When he's on, he's similar, isn't he? Like he can pick the moment. He's intimidating. I think the thing to defend Queensland is what you were just saying with. I feel like all the years I've played against Cherry and watching him, Cherry's all about, and you probably can speak for it training with him, Coops, but Cherry's a space player in under pressure, isn't he? Like he reacts so well to the defence. If he sees a pocket, he's so great at finding that space. I think what you just said then, we've got to be really pick our moments right when we want to intimidate and be cautious of not opening up too much space. I think if our line's solid and we're moving together, it takes Cherry out of the game because he resorts to a kick or he resorts to just dropping blokes off. You start giving him a bit of space, and I've heard you speak about it with Cherry before, that try assist that he had early in the game where he's just jumped straight at a dummy half, quick play the ball, boom.
Yep.
He does that better than anyone I've seen nearly
over
the history of the game. And we've got to we've got to restrict as many opportunities of quick play the balls against him.
We've got to actually try to make him forced to fall into the structured system because with Cherry, isn't it? It's the prevention is better than the cure, and the prevention is don't present him with visual opportunity because the moment that you present him with something, he's just going to go, and then you've got to find the solution to sort of to rescue the play defensively. But that's a big one. Like Coops, you've said numerous times before that he's very difficult to play against, particularly because you come out of the Melbourne system because he'll just go whoosh and away he'll go.
Yeah, well, he's hard to play with in that sense. Like there's times.
Does he talk much, Coops?
He's not a big talker. No. He's not a big talker because how do you communicate what you have no idea what you're going to do? Yeah. He's a bit like Munster, where like Munster would communicate the structure, but like he couldn't communicate. And back rowers found it really hard to play with Money because he could never communicate to them what he was about to do, so they couldn't get timing off it. Ches was the exact same. Like there would be times I'd miss. The only person who knew when to push with Ches was Turbo. Yeah. Tommy has played with him enough where he knew what Ches was about to do. He's just got a good instinct with it. But there was times I'd miss a half opportunity to push with him because you just see there's nothing doing. And then he'd just go down a short side, put a little banana kick back over, and I'd sort of miss that job of, your half goes outside, push through the middle and help with him. But he's just on another level of like creativity and off-the-cuff play, like stuff that you would never even... You could sit in a video session for an hour and dissect a defensive line and go, you know what, let's do this, and he could just get the footy for 2 seconds and come up with a whole new play off the cuff that you would never think of.
It's the early kicking too, isn't it? Like his early kick, I think he's nailed that more than anyone.
Well, he got Lomax that 40, time in the second half. He just picked him and went, mate, he's a little bit asleep on the job here, and went bang, nailed that 40.
I think Mitch Moses will back himself, but I think he'll relish that challenge because Mitch is probably long kicking games better than all of them.
Yeah,
like the length of his kick. But Cherry in big games, especially the back end of his career, he swings momentum, doesn't he? He's very good at it. He's almost a bit like Cameron Smith in that regard, where he can just find the right kick. Where I think Mitch is starting to own that part of his game. So I reckon he'll be going. I think Moses will be going into the game going, I need to outsmart Cherry with my kicking.
You three blokes in the room, three of you played against Mitchell Moses? Three?
Yeah. I debuted against him actually.
You did?
Yeah.
Jack certainly played against him. You played against him a lot. Because he's okay. We're talking. He's super confident. He's got a healthy arrogance. What's he like out on the field? Is he a bit of a chirper, a bit of sledger, or anything like that?
He's always vocal.
Yeah.
What I love about Mitch is when he first came in, because his instincts and speed are nearly as good as anyone in the comp, aren't they? But
yeah.
I reckon everything's just calmer now as he's got older and he's just got more control. But yeah, he has got a healthy arrogance. What you said, it's so true.
I've always found times I've played against him a few times at Callback, and I've always found he's very whingy's not the word, but like very angry towards his own teammates. Have you found that?
He chips them.
Yeah, or him and Gutho.
He has got a few sprays. Him and Gutho go at each other hard.
Yeah, I was sitting at scrums sometimes, and they're up, and like they're up by 6 or 10, and they're going at each other, and just like they're into the ref, and like they're real vocal, but like not sledging, like just vocal at each other into the ref. And I was like, what? There's a lot of whinging going on from these two. I was
going,
guys, settle down.
Each other, but you just can't.
Yeah, you're going those. You're going, they're turning against each other, boys. They're turning against each other. No, they ended up beating us anyway. So
I'm looking forward to Jake, second stint as captain. I think like we said before about coming into State of Origin camp for the very first time can be a little bit intimidating. It can be sort of hard to find your bearings. And I think it would be the same with the captaincy.
Yeah.
I think going in there, Jake would be going, okay, what are they exactly after here? I think just seeing him interviewed this second game, he looks a lot more comfortable. There's people out there, I've heard some people say that he shouldn't be captain. A couple of people said he shouldn't be in the team. For me, Jake is always just about the first bloke pick because he just brings that. He brings that invisible, that thing that just binds everyone together.
I can understand the argument, like having him and Yowie, they are very similar. But at the same time, Jake, I played with Jake in Origin, and he's just one of those players that he's just a soldier, isn't he? You know what you're going to get, and he doesn't say a whole lot, but you'd know more, Coops, obviously playing with him, with his speeches and that. When I played with him, he didn't say too much.
Mate, don't worry, he talked a lot of Manly. He was always good for, and it's the hardest job in the world is when you're defending your own try line for sets on end, and he's the kind of bloke where you just want to, for his sake, for his own mental health, you want to stop as many tries coming over the try line as possible, because he gets so when they'd score, he'd go, guys, come on, we have that mentality, we have that Manly mentality where no one breaks through this fortress, and you're like, you feel so disappointed. I would feel more disappointed for Jake of me letting through a try, and I let through a few, than in myself. He just has that emotion and passion.
Well, that's all he's got to bring to New South Wales. He doesn't need to bring anything more than just that. He doesn't have to worry about doing Churchillian speeches before the game. Just his presence, just that sort of stuff. Chief was the same. If Chief got out there before the game and decided to do this huge, speech and everything, you'd sort of, okay. Although he did a couple towards the end grand final that you go, yeah, but it's just his actions. Actually, before the grand final once we got there in 97, and this is a story about Chief, and I'll just go down a rabbit hole here for a sec because I think it's interesting, was in 1992, right, Australia versus Great Britain. Chief knocked out a fellow, an opposite front rower who was a young front rower from Wigan called Ian Lucas. Ian Lucas was in a really bad way. Knocked out for, I think, an extended period. Ian Lucas never played again. And that had a massive impact on Chief, really affected him. And I used to see him in games, Chief would go to a certain extent and then not go that next level, because originally, mate, he was a mad dog. He was crazy. Knocking people out, knocking teammates out, trying to knock guys out. And he sort of went into his shell. And I used to see opposite front rowers almost pick up on it and take advantage of it. And it used to frustrate the shit out of us. We go, come on, Chief, Abs were in the sheds of the 97 grand final, pulled everyone in and just goes, boys, I know I've been holding a little bit back, but, mate, just follow me today. No one gets sent off in a grand final. And if you watch the first 10 minutes, he just...
Fight day, wasn't it?
Oh, he's just cleaned up everybody. Yeah. Mate, remember Tubes just going to the referee, Dave Manson, send him off, get rid of him. And I was thinking, he's going to go, but... It's what won us the game. They were bashed.
Hey, while we're on Newcastle, can I ask about a former Newcastle team out of yours, Connor Watson, making his debut for New South Wales. How excited are you for him?
Yeah, I was so happy for him. We're obviously all good mates with Connor, and we all know what a good bloke he is. But the way he's played, I think he's slowed down in his head a lot the last couple of years when he's been at the Roosters. He's always very fast, Connor, and everything was 100 miles an hour. He'd do the old... tip on when he probably should have just held the ball.
Oh, I remember watching him and Kurt Mann together, mate. He used to give me anxiety.
But, Connor, he's always been a great player and his energy, and I think he's found his role. He's played a lot of 5'8", fullback, lock, but I think the way the Roosters are using him out of dummy half there, he's been very effective, and I can see him having a big one. If we're on the front foot and he's getting momentum, and it's his ability to jump off tackles. He bumps off. He's so strong, isn't he, as we know. Bench press wise and chin ups and everything. I've never seen anyone stronger for his size. He's like a little gymnast.
Yeah, right.
So I think it reminds you a bit of Craig Wing, doesn't it?
Yeah. I like the 1-2 punch that he's going to bring. It's very much, it's got that Harry Grant, Ben Hunt sort of feel to it, which we've probably missed for a while.
I'd say it's really it's pressure on Madge. Madge and his coach and staff, they've just got to get the timing right.
Yeah.
Right. If they get the timing right, then it could win the Blues the game, because you don't want any more from Connor than 20, 25 minutes of impact. They've just got to get it right. have the sense that, righto, we're starting to get on top here. We're starting to get a line share of possession. Get him on there. Because you don't want to just jam him on there in desperation and suddenly, it's a period in the game where Queensland have got 70% possession.
Yeah,
because it's not going to work and he's going to be a target. You want him on the field when you get that sense we're about to get some ascendancy. Queensland boys, no Selwyn Cobbo. Interesting. Billy's come out and said, he's been playing injured. There's been talk that, his application wasn't right. There's a few different things. I think there's probably all of the above. What worries you about Queensland? Well, I'll tell you what worries me. What worries me, and I don't know, and one thing I've learnt, Billy, in the last 2 series, that everything he says he means. And they asked him about game 1, and he said, I was really disappointed in aspects of our game. We'll play a lot better in game 2. And I thought, fuck, I hope he's not right.
The only the shit thing about this side is, coached by Billy, obviously, but they are so relentless, and they're never gonna play a bad game and beat themselves. They're always gonna play a consistent good game. New South Wales have to come with a more talented team who just play them off the park. I think we've definitely got the side that has talent all across it that can beat this side, but I just their backline's just got strike every.
And Walshy coming back too, right?
Yeah.
He's going to obviously, you can sense that he would have come into the series wanting to dominate. It's his opportunity to sort of make his mark. He obviously had the 5 minutes in the first game, but his confidence and fearless attitude, I reckon, to worry. Yeah. It's a bit scary. It's a bit scary because they did the job without him. And I just think with Cherry knowing that he's out the back, it's a bit of a scary thing.
Of course, all those combinations have been together a long time, and the very nature of Billy's coaching, not that Madge hasn't, but they know exactly how they're going to play. Right, everything they're going to do is basically set down in concrete. With us, there's still that little bit of, this feeling of our way. How we just don't know how Moses and Luai going to gel. How's Reece Robson going to gel with Mitch? All those little things at the unknown. That is a concern of mine. I'll tell you what I have enjoyed in the build-up this series. Because to me, I've known Billy a long time, and he's always been a really happy-go-lucky bloke. Jesus, he's angry, hasn't he? He's extremely agitated,
fired up.
He is. Yeah. Him and Madge. What about Madge? Madge is usually fly under the radar, don't say too much, give no ammunition. But the old people in glass houses.
How smart was Billy? They spoke about when he came down from the box to the sideline.
Yeah,
is that true that he had that worked out before the game? Someone was saying that he'd had the plan B worked out. I don't know if it's true or not. Well, that if someone went down, he'd already had the route to go down to the sideline. Well, is that true?
Yeah,
I was saying something about it.
They reckon he leaves nothing to chance. It's like Beau Fermor 2 years ago when he came into the Queensland side. He was 19th man. Yeah. But Beau Fermor went away and said, mate, Billy grabbed him, took him in front of a video for 40 minutes and was talking about aspects of his game. And for more, he wasn't going to play, and Billy was almost certain he wasn't going to play. But for more came out of it and said, I've just learnt more in one camp than I've learnt in my whole life in rugby league.
Yeah. He's one of the greatest detailed thinkers I've seen when it comes to attack and even defence as well. You're good as well.
Did you play with him, Coops?
I played in his last year. Yeah. And but he every year after he retired, he would still come once a week to training. Yeah. And I said it before on this podcast, the training session when he would come and grab all the halves and the edges and run through, he'd pick one shape every time he'd come. He'd say, "Right, guys, we're going to focus on this shape today. Let's run it as best we can." I've never seen shape run so perfect in a training session ever. When he wasn't out there, he was just talking us through it and helping everyone. But the detail, and I heard a story the other day on him talking about why he's angry. But he's so big on the psychology and mentality of how players should prepare for a game. And I have no doubt how he's talking in the media now is it's not so much being confrontational with the media. I believe he's trying to set a certain mentality and standard for the players that when they see that, he'd be saying the same thing.
Get your heads on.
Strategy,
yeah. Even I think last series, they said the speech at the start of the game, and he went to get in the elevator to go up to the box, and the elevator malfunctioned. So he was at the back with a couple of the assistants in there, and the elevator kid's hitting it, and he was like some 18-year-old kid hitting it, freaking out because he's like, obviously any other NRL coach, Craig Bellamy, anyone else would have started blowing up, going, "Get me up there! I need to watch the start of this game. Get me the hell up there," as you would, because you got so much skin in the game. But Billy, the kid was stressing, and then after a minute, Billy grabbed him and said, "Hey, it doesn't matter. I've done my job now. Like now, it's up to the players out there. Doesn't matter whether I see the start or not."
That's awesome.
And it's like just how he thinks about everything, and it's just he's an impressive man.
They would have been good as a half playing with him, wouldn't it?
Oh
Wouldn't
yeah.
have to do much thinking.
Took me back to a story. Remember, there was a great Dutch coach called Johan Cruyff. They reckon when he was at Barcelona, he was doing a team meeting. He was doing a press conference after the game, and one of the guys at the front, he could see he was clicking his tape recorder, trying to get it work. Johan Cruyff said, "Are you okay?" He said, "I'm just having trouble." He goes, "Just throw it here." Held it up for about 10 minutes, took it apart, actually fixed it, and then threw it back to him. I like that. Do you know what it is with Slater, right? Here's the thing, Mitch, and you blokes know, it's one thing to have theories on the game, right? Most coaches in the game are theorists, meaning that they may have played, but they haven't actually played in one of those creative positions. With Slater, he's not only just a theorist where he goes, "I think this will work." He's gone out there and he's done it. So he knows that his theories work in practice. And I think that's a big thing as far as coaching is concerned. Yeah. That you've been out there, you've gone to execute those plays under pressure, and you know they work. That's a massive thing.
Yeah, even just with him trying to get the message across. Like if he's telling Reece Walsh this will work, Reece Walsh, there's sometimes there's coaches,
you know it'll work.
Yeah, they say it to you, and then you walk away and go, "Yeah, righto," and then you go over to the boys and go, "What a fucking idiot he is."
I know.
You go, "He's got no, like that wouldn't work."
Yeah.
But
Got a set piece, boys. Everyone goes, "Yeah, good one."
Yeah.
What a waste of 15 minutes.
Yeah. But if Billy Slater's telling you something, you would, even if you got it wrong a couple of times, you genuinely believe, you wouldn't think it's him that got it wrong. You'd think, "Oh, what am I doing that this move isn't working?" And you work at it.
Trust.
Yeah. It's just so much belief.
Who wins and why?
I'm going to go New South Wales. I think Melbourne, I just think they're in. I think we actually did a good job with 12 for 60 minutes last time.
We're going at them hard with 25 to go.
I think, given no more brain fades in the game, I reckon they'll win just based on that they have more to lose, I think. I think they're really,
desperation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you, Coops. I think the players coming in, I think Mitch Moses will be our best player if we win. Just his kicking game, length of kicking game. Then I think the game plan, they would have learned a few lessons of where Queensland are weak that we probably didn't execute properly in game one. I think Latrell, as I said before, I think he's got a point to prove. He's got that look in his eye at the moment. If we can get him, I think it's going to come down to individual moments, individual talent coming up in big moments, which we probably lacked a little bit last game. And I think Latrell and I think Mitch will own those this game.
Yeah. I like New South Wales. Based off desperation, Origin has shown that throughout Origin history hasn't been a lot of clean sweeps. Yeah. Just that little bit when you're 1-0 up, just that tiny little bit of just coming off, and now you've got a safety net compared to the side that has to win, has proven that it's a big factor. The other thing I like about the makeup of our team, and again I'm talking here in theory, is that in theory we've got a side that can blast through the middle, highlighted by guys like Cam Murray and, of course, Dylan Edwards, can drill through the middle. But also, I think we've got a team that if we want to go wide and look to play around them, we can do it easily. Like, I would love to see us work to an edge and see Crichton and Latrell swing and play together like traditional centres used to. We saw that with Turbo, and we saw it with Latrell during those winning series. And what that does, coming from alongside, that just creates mismatches. So little things like that I think is in our arsenal we can do, and I just like our centres as far as defensively. The big threat's going to come from Reece Walsh ripping around on those sweep plays, and both our centres are great defenders instinctively, and I think they can snuff him out and give him a tough night. Man of the match, boys?
Oh, God, I think I'm with Pearce. I'm going to go Mitchell Moses. I think he's going to have a huge one.
I want to go Latrell.
Oh wow, that's a big story.
Because I think Mitch will get Latrell plenty of ball, hopefully, as Matty just said. I think we didn't bring everyone else into the game as much as we could have in game one. So if Latrell can get plenty of ball, I think he can come up with a couple of tries. I'm going
Dylan Edwards in big games, like in all those grand finals he's played in. He really could have got Clive Churchill in all of them. And I think what's done him a favour this game is Latrell coming into the side. All the attention's been on Latrell, and I think Dylan's just sort of come into camp far more low key this time, and I think he'll excel.
Beautiful. Thanks, Piercy.
Hey, Mitch.
Bloody hell, mate.
Thank you.
And,
to
mate,
see
once
you.
again, mate,
Yeah.
congratulations, mate, on you and Toddy with the podcast. Pass that on to Toddy for us. And, mate, and good luck with your coaching career, mate.
Thanks very
It's
much.
just kicking off underway.
Thanks,
Yeah.
boys. Thank you very much for having me.
No worries. Anytime.